Fascinating. This is Gabrielle Ruiz, and you're watching Trek Culture.
And I think Sam said it best. I think it was probably on your show. He's like, this is something you don't attempt. It's like, this is like, you don't go into this space, like, and attempt these characters, you don't shoot Casablanca 2 or Chinatown 2, like you don't do that. And here we are going and taking Kirk and Spock and retrofitting these characters back into the pop culture, and it's like, whew, it's scary. It was really scary. I gotta say, and we approached it with so much respect and trepidation, because we knew as fans ourselves that that we knew what people would like to see, or at least we thought we had an idea, and Jules came up with this an amazing story, and Carlos put the heart into it, and Sam brought his performance. It's an amazing. So as I'm a fan as well, like looking through it through an eyepiece and a camera and a set of cameras, like and directing all that and lighting as well. And so we're experiencing it very much the same way while we shot it, that the overwhelming response has been how they experienced it when they watched it. Like, we are pinching ourselves, looking at each other, going, this is historic. This is what, we're doing. And so every great care was taken from the crew level, from Maddie Corder, Dolly Grip, Alex, my crane operator, my Trinity operator, Kramer, Hunter, Lejour, my gaffer, and CJ Kolachi. He's the key grip, biggest Star Trek fan ever. And so we were all like going, this is like, we're recording this and our names are going to be on it. We can't mess this up for the fans, for us, for ourselves. And so whatever the direction Carlos threw at us, whatever Jules felt like needed to happen, we just made it happen, because they had a great sense of what this would turn out would be like. And so mechanically, that's where I came in.
So you're right. Obviously, you're right. Like, for so many of us, we saw the finished product. We saw, obviously, the way products like Memory Wall, problems Regeneration,
right,
as well, and it was stunning. But then we got Unification drops, and of course, what we see as an audience is both the culmination of everything and also a fraction of your life over the last couple of years. I mean, when does your participation in Unification itself begin? Presumably you've obviously been working with with Carlos for a while. So where does your journey with Unification begin?
I met Carlos with Jules at the same time, and on a project called Regeneration, which was 2 years ago. I think you might have seen a little bit of that.
Yes.
And I do a lot of specialty work with LED walls, shooting in LED walls, as well as shooting traditional. So we did that project, and the results were pretty phenomenal. They really enjoyed it. They had attempted it a couple times before, with mixed results, and then now they had what was going to be the makings of a pretty core team to build upon, because I think ultimately this project might have been the goal. I don't know. That's another thing. Because of NDA, there's going to be things that you're going to ask me that I will have to say no, I don't know. But I'm going to say in general, that's where the things that I can answer. So going back, the Regeneration started, and then the fallout from that was pretty amazing. And for just a few, was it 2 minutes and 15 seconds or something like that? Yeah. And so from there, it was they approached me and they said, hey, we have and I don't know exactly when. And then, hey, we have this idea. This is what we want to do. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, all right. This is gonna.
Crazy, and you're insane, is what you're saying. This you're
Oh,
crazy.
I mean, so Sean, I'm gonna tell you, like, hey, you can bring back Humphrey Bogart, right? You can do that. Here's an amazing script, and and here, do you want to do it? Do you want to attempt it, or do you want to say no? And of course, you say yes. Like you say yes because it's like, well, one, there's great trust that they placed in me to deliver these images, and then likewise, I trusted them. They knew the material. They respected the material so much that yes, we were going to do this. And then on top of that, with Sam being so amazing at doing his craft, it was like, okay, yeah, there are some margins for success that we can hit here. So then we did it. We started planning, and then Jonathan and Carlos worked on the storyboards, and then from that, I took those black and white lines and I made them into reality with camera and lighting and depth and mood. So that's a whole process in itself. So yeah, it's been great.
So I've spoken a little to a couple of the people about like some of the dance of speaking to this person, speaking to that person, speaking to that person, and getting everyone to say yes. So I see you're wearing a Section 31 hoodie, which means at some point in your career you have worked with Paramount. Did that ever come up as a conversation of like, kind of, because this is a Star Trek property, but also it's not under Paramount, but then it's sort of does that headache get as far as you, or is that I've been hired for a job?
Oh no, yeah, it's I'll let I'll let you guys figure it out. I always quote Vasquez. I'm like, all I need to know is where they are, and like literally, like you give me the characters, you tell me where they are, and I'm gonna put cameras that direction. So, I've and that's the thing is like I would go back to Otoy. I'm like, hey, I just wrapped on this Section 31 little piece that they needed, and they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, it's NDA, so like I don't know if Secret Hideout knows what you guys are doing or what you guys are doing, and it's just like, so you're like, I'm like, yeah. So they don't know. Nobody knows what I did. So it hasn't come out yet, and I can't really. But anyhow, yeah. So it's this weird thing. It's like I am a cinematographer, and that was part of the other thing about what Jules wanted. He saw that I had worked for Picard as an operator, and he was starting to assemble a team of people that were pedigree Trek, like they came from Trek, So then it would be like, Dave Blass does amazing work, and Carlos got Michael on board and to do the score for Unification. So and then you have the people at Roddenberry. I mean, like it was just, and Shatner and Nemo. I mean, like everything about it was, like the family of Trek, and so it didn't come from an outsider. It doesn't. And that's the whole point of Unification. It was to, I mean, yes, unify. These are some beloved characters in the franchise, the way that would be nice to be envisioned, and then also unify the franchises, because there's a lot of like in a story about boldly going where people or beings haven't gone before. It's the essence of this franchise is diplomacy and friendship. Like we can't be divided across, like New Trek versus Generations versus DS9 versus the original series. We have to be diplomatically related and good with each other, and that's where it's like, that's where I love, the reboot, 2009, and I quote it with my friends, but I also love the original series. Like I like I feel like it's all in that same spirit, and so unifying all these different aspects of Trek was very important to us as well, because that love is real, and I think it's evident in the comments. People are crying. I cried when I first watched it, so it's like, I cried when I made some of the frames. Like I'm just sitting there going, when we did Simple Feeling handshake, I looked over at my dolly grip. So I'm on the crane, and I have a dolly grip who's got B camera on the tight angle, right? And he's got a monitor on. If this is going too off the rails, sorry, but you probably want this.
I want this kind of.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So he's got a monitor, and he has them like he's getting ready to push, because he'll. I think there was going to be a move this way, and then no, that was the crane. The crane's doing this. It's rotating around that little table, and then we get out of the way so that there's a close up, which I don't know if made the final cut, of that hand grip. And I'm looking at, so if this is the monitor, right? And the monitor's right here, and this is his push bar, and he's like looking at it, and the camera operator's in front of him, the camera's there, and he's sitting there, and he's like, oh man. He's like looking at it, and I look over at him, and I'm on the wheels on the crane. I'm like, just like stay in it, like in my head, I'm looking at him, stay in it. And then it cuts, and then I go over to him, and he's like, a simple feeling. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I need a minute. And I'm like, me too. It was like there's so many times where that would happen. I would when I knew Robin Curtis was backstage, and she was getting into wardrobe, and I have this thing with my key grip, CJ, who's bigger Star Trek fan than myself, not as big as Maddie, but anyhow, I have this thing where I like to introduce my team to some of the characters that they've always loved. So I did this movie with Casper Van Diem, and obviously CJ loves Starship Troopers. So then I didn't, and he's like, oh my gosh, am I going to meet Casper? And I'm like, I don't know. Do you want to? And as the DP, I'm like, you know what? This is fun. CJ's been with me for years. So then I had this thing where I'm like, CJ, come here. I need you to, like, we need to get we need to build an 8x frame right here. And I kept on like, right here, see this mark right here? And I was just literally bringing him closer to Casper Van Diem. And I'm like, Casper, this is CJ. He's one of your biggest fans. Go. And then literally Casper's like, oh my gosh. And then they start hugging it out. And CJ's like, oh, this is amazing. I did it with Robin Curtis. And I'm like, so I brought him in, and I'm like, CJ, come here. We gotta, I need you to do this. And I'd pretend like I was working, but I was literally just trying to bring him and Maddie Corder onto stage. And then they're like, yeah, boss, what you need? And looking up at whatever I'm pointing, I'm like, I wanted you to meet Robin Curtis. This is Robin, Savick. And they're shaking hands, and they're going, oh, it's like, that's the level, like, because there's usually like this great divide between crew and, the cast members or celebrities or whatever. And so, like, we just wrap cable and they retrench into the darkness like the Morlocks and, like whatever. But like, it's not like that. We, like, on our sets, we really love what we do, and being able to give some of my best friends, the stories that they still tell to this day, like, that's how much we love what we do, and then we get to give that love into the franchises that gave us that love. That's what's magical. And yeah, and I think it really comes through. I think you can feel the love in all the frames that we created for Unification. Like, and we like tirelessly like really approached it to make sure that it wasn't just haphazardly put together. We put so much detail and care into the movement of the camera and the movement of the light, and orchestrated all those things so that, like, when he puts the badge on, or the comm on, and it's like, that is an insanely tough focus pull for Jose, because if you think about it, I think I'm at the 85 millimeter, and it's an anamorphic. So the way that the focus kind of falls off on anamorphic, it's like kind of like in a parabola shape almost. And so and that was shot on we did that on green screen. We did all the different Kirks on green screen, just so that they could replace it and do whatever they wanted there. But yeah, like when he looks at it, and then it's the audio clip from Wrath of Khan, and then he puts it on like that, like going focus from here to here while he's moving towards camera is on anamorphic on an 85, or I think it was the 100. It was the 100th. I feel like it was the 100. It's really hard, and I think the BTS guy got some of that footage of him doing that pull, because it's like, if you know lenses, like as you get closer, like the lens markings get further apart. So if you're holding it, it's like 30 feet, 15 feet is that's it. 30 feet, 15 feet. But then if you do like 2-to-1, it's like this, so he's having to like concentrate and then hold it, and then while Sam does the performance, while the lighting does the cue, because there's a lighting change in there. He goes from the exterior world into that void, which they were trying to determine what the void was going to look like. So that was and so we had to do a lighting change to help. So if you notice the ambient light drops considerably, and then the hair light drops considerably, and then we have this front light as if we're walking towards this big light in the darkness, and that all happens in camera.
In the community, in all Star Trek, anything with Star Trek on the name, there is sometimes a certain image people might have in their heads of what a fan production looks like, right? And sometimes you would think, like, I have a whole bunch of costumes that I love and they look great, but I mean, they wouldn't be up to filming on stage, and it looks fantastic. And then I'm here, everything you are saying, this was a fan production, because every one of yous were a fan, and that's not guaranteed. That really isn't guaranteed. All it could have taken is maybe one of them to be like, can't afford a second day, can't do it. We don't have the time. We can't shell out for it. And that they did is why it looks as good as it does. I mean, one of the reasons it looks good as it does. It was bloody good director photography. Is another reason it looks as good as it does. But,
thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you for being a bloody good director of photography. I really appreciate it.
Well, I mean, it's like with any great project, it's a team, and like, and it was, and like that's the other thing is like, yeah, you're right. Like it is a fan film in a sense that a lot of us were fans. I mean, I gotta believe that, Lord of the Rings was a fan film too. Like I wasn't part of that, but the way that Peter Jackson talks about it, and and like a lot of the characters who were in it, how they talked about being on that movie, they must have been all fans, and so yes, we happen to be fans, but we're also professional at what we do. Like this is this is how we eat. This is how we pay for our kids' schooling. Like that's and to bring that years of experience and professionalism into something that we ourselves love. Like we have, I have shelves of like toys that are from all the different things that I like, and like I assume a lot of your watchers, your viewers are I'm the same. I'll have the same conversation about like how many articulating points each version of GI Joe had. Like those are things that I can have a detailed conversation about. But like to do that within this Star Trek franchise was like, yeah, it was awesome. And then like I remember distinctly, I want to share this story. Ethan, he was like he would always double check to make sure like the uniforms were correct, like that they were accurate, and then Jules would also check it as well. But he would just like he'd look at it, and even though like a badge would be in a certain distance from here to here to like there's a certain distance that would be at, and he would place it there in real time, like as he's looking at it. But then he'd look at the monitor and he wouldn't stop. He would like go, how does the camera visualize the position of this? It doesn't matter what it is in the real world. How the camera sees it is going to be different, and the angle. And so he'd always like shift this over just a touch, or like, but we're talking, Sean, we're talking like I don't know, like between those that kind of minutia, between these two scissor blades, he would be like, he'd shift it over, and I'd be waiting, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's looks like it's in the same spot, but okay. And then you watch the review, and people are like, they never even mention it, and you're like, cool, I guess that's right. They would have said something, like the position, like people are like looking for things to be wrong with it. It seems like, because it was one of those things where like we knew we did good, and yeah, and credit goes to the entire team. Thank you.
For me personally, I felt what we never had was a proper goodbye, and I feel like we now have that.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus that I've seen, at least. And yeah, and it's so if you think about it from like if you're an alien, and there's this piece of production or art or whatever you call it, and you watch it unify the characters that we love, the franchises within that storyline, but most importantly, the fan base, of course, there's going to be people that didn't like Empire Strikes Back. There's going to be people that like didn't like Dances with Wolves and whatever. But like generally speaking, though, like if you look at it, there's a lot of people that I think for us as a team, to read some of these heartfelt tributes to people have lost in a lot of the comments on the thing is been the surprise that I didn't know I would have. And I remember I even posted about one on Instagram, on my Instagram, because I screenshotted it and I just posted it. I'm like, this. And it was like how they said, I forgot who you are. If you're watching, thank you. But you said something of like this was really well done. It was beautiful. I really enjoyed it. And I was going to leave it at that until I read the comments. And now my faith in humanity is restored. And like, I like that kind of feeling, simple feeling, it really like transcends so many, things we do as artists, as filmmakers, as humans, as dads, as husbands, like wives. But like it transcends that we can unify so many people, and this day, like it was unification. It will be something else like down the road, but to be part of that experience, that human experience where the joy that a grip has on set of going, oh man, I am so thankful to be on Star Trek, kind of like how I was. That's how I got. That's another story. But and to do it justice, and to now that same grip is like saying, this is what we did. I'm so proud of it. And watching his daughter cry, who has no idea who Kirk or Spock are. That's the human experience. I think we've tapped into that. I think I think that we're ripe for feeling these feelings again. And like, I don't know what it is, but like, people want to feel this, and there's something unspoken and magical at the same time in this phenomenon that happened with this project.
Thank you so much for watching this abbreviated version of this podcast. Now, if you go to our audio platforms, you will get the full version of this podcast with this guest. So we really, really appreciate you subscribing to that, and you're just awesome and wonderful. Thank you so much.